Right. Just a little introduction about our company. We're the Golden Portugal. Our office is in Lisbon, Portugal, in Sardinia. And we have 5 years of experience in handling all sorts of Portugal immigrations. And in the beginning, we specialized in Portugal Golden Visa, and we have done like over 500 families for that, and with 100% success rate. And now we're expanding to all other sorts of Portugal visa, like the D7 Digital Nomad, D2, renewals, and citizenship as well. This is our website, the Golden Portugal. You can take a look. It has a lot of information. Or if you want to know more about the D Visa or about our service, you can always book an appointment with us. Okay, and we have a lot of Q&As. So one of them is say, okay, can I apply for D8 if I'm self-employed, fully working online as a coach?
Yeah, that's definitely one of the options. The D8 visa, it's not only for subordinate workers, not only for employees, but for self-employed applicants as well. So if you can prove that you provide services to some clients, if you have a company and you provide services through your company that you own, it's also eligible for the D8 visa. So fully working online as a coach, yeah, that will work.
And then there's another question, say, how to get appointment from the embassy, UAE, for example. So you have to go to make an appointment online, right? Probably.
Yeah, this jurisdiction indeed, it has been a little complicated to get appointments there. They were on high demand, but they have a VFS application center as well. You don't need to go directly to the embassy. You can go to their website and register there. I'm going even to double check. I believe it's still available, their services in UAE.
Right. So
Then there you can book through VFS an appointment for you, and they will handle the application, and internally they will forward to the Embassy of Portugal.
right. So this type of service, we do help to guide you as well, or like as I said before, we can also help clients on certain jurisdiction to help them book the VFS, like we did just for one of our American clients. We just booked it this week, right? Yeah, for April. Yeah. And then there's also one, what about proving the value of my house, which I could sell before?
Yeah, let me
I don't
check.
think so, right?
No.
Would be silly to sell the house before, because asset is not one of the requirement.
Yeah, no, that's right.
Cannot fit.
This is all based on regular income. So for the D7, it's the passive income. For the D8, it's the active income. So you must show that you receive on a regular basis some source of income. So, well, it's good. We have some additional documents that always help to create a stronger application, like if you show that you have properties, that you have savings that can help you to get the approval faster, but only that wouldn't you wouldn't be eligible for a visa just showing that you have a property, for example.
Right. One of the another question is, how do I get a tax ID? We will help you for sure. You can do it remotely. You just need your passport and a recent address proof, and we can do it for you. Then if I work remotely, do I still need to have to set up health travel insurance?
Yeah, this is one of the mandatory requirements because that is related, like for your travel to Portugal, they must know that you won't cause like any charges to the government here. So for this part, the initial part, when you move to the country, and you don't have a residence permit here yet, you just have the visa in your passport. So for this type of expenses before you get the residence permit, you will need to prove that you have how to pay for them. So the travel insurance is mandatory.
Yeah, so after you get the resident card, you get the public health care, you get the education for your kids as well, free
Yeah,
education.
correct.
So, about clarify where we can obtain the criminal record report in your country. So, every country will have their place to get your criminal record, we will guide you through it. So we have links, especially for those in the US, UK, Singapore, Hong Kong, Taiwan, China. We have like a whole set of step-by-step documented guides for you to go. And then for other countries, we also will guide you as well. Do you have contacts you can share for rentals? There is a lot of information on the internet, but I don't know who is trustworthy. Yeah, of course. As our clients, we will be giving or share with you our contacts for rentals. And then, yeah, we can work on that as well.
Yeah.
Do you have connections with realtors and landlords? Yes, but not in every city. So we mainly have a lot of connections in Lisbon, as we are based in Lisbon, also in Porto and Braga. And we do have other kind of developer property management who has also apartments in Lisbon, Alcázar do Sal, Grandola, and our branch. Yeah. So what are the benefits of this visa? I think you have already went through some of the benefits. Health, education, you will be you enjoy the same benefit of someone who's like me or Otavio who's living in here. And then after 5 years, you can apply for the PR and the citizenship, which give you access to, when you get the citizenship, access to all the EU region, 27 countries in the EU.
Like even to live, if you'd like to move to another country, once you have the Portuguese citizenship, you can easily move to another country in Europe. That's something that you won't need a visa for that. So this is good. It's an opportunity for the future as well. And while in Portugal, which is a great country, also you can enjoy the quality of life here and you can live almost as a local because the rights that the country gives to foreigners with a residence permit are really wide. You have like public health system, you have access to the public health system, public education, and it's really good. You have a lot of rights here as a foreigner with a residence permit.
Right. And also one is asking, does applying for a golden visa now to provide free movement prevent you from applying for another visa at a later date when you want to move to Portugal, say in 3 years' time? I think you can change from Portugal golden visa to.
You can, yeah. You cannot have two at the same time, but you can apply for one and later you can change and it's not a problem. Yeah.
Yeah. What is the minimum income requirement for the D2 entrepreneur visa?
Yeah, that's interesting. There is no minimum income requirement actually, because the main reason for that visa is to show that you will contribute to the Portuguese market. So that's why you need a business plan to explain what you're going to develop here. You will then open the business, like the registration fees, you will need to pay for that. It's not high, it's like 250 euros for you to register the company. Plus, you need to have an accountant linked to your company that might charge you some fees for their services.
Yeah, you need to have
That's
an accountant to do all the things every month and yearly. And it's a must, it's an obligation.
But that's the specific requirement. It's set opening the bank account in Portugal, sorry, opening the business in Portugal. And then once you do that you register properly the company here, it's already what you need for applying for this visa. But still, you will need to prove that you have savings. You don't need to prove regular income, but you need to prove that you have savings.
Right. So I see there are some other questions for golden visa as well. Is there an email to contact? You can actually scan the book, your consultation, or you can email us. I can type our email for you. And then one of the family wants to apply for D7 visa for 5 from UAE. You can also contact us for more informations. I see only options in the 500K for a Golden Visa. Yes, actually, we mainly do the 500K, but we also have donation projects, but those are on a limited, it's very limited in the market. So anyway, so we might have like some quota and it's on a first come, first served basis. And about what sort of physical presence is required to be in the country every year? So I think that's very important because
Yeah.
people are not.
Yeah, I mentioned before about the official rule because we receive a lot of questions about that, but the logic is actually the opposite. What the law says here is about the time that you can be out of the country. They don't say the time that you need to be in the country. So let's say that you have your first temporary residence permit. This one will be valid for 2 years. Within 2 years from the start date of your permit, you are allowed to be out of the country, out of Portugal, for up to 6 consecutive months or 8 interpolated months without needing to justify that. If you have professional reasons, if you have health issues that you can prove that you need to be abroad, you can inform IMA through a formal notification. You can inform them that you will need to be out of the country for more than the allowed period by law. So then there are some flexibility. Even if you stay out more of this period, they cannot like just terminate your rights. Like they won't make you lose your permit right away. They will open a process. You can like defend yourself. It's something really formal, but you need to respect the rules. So that's the rule. It's 6 consecutive months or 8 months in total within the period of validity of your card. First will be for 2 years, then will be for 3 years, the same rule. So that's how it works. It's about the time that you are allowed to be out of the country.
Right. And please clarify on taxes, a foreign pension tax. I think if you're living here as a tax resident, which after 183 days, you should be declaring yourself as a tax resident here. Per calendar year for maybe your first year here or your second year here, depending when you move to Portugal, you will be declaring yourself as a tax resident. And after you become a tax resident in Portugal, you are liable to file your tax. And right now there are some tax scheme for certain type of people to reduce to not to pay the global income, but we're not a tax specialist, but we can for sure refer you to one of our partners for a more detailed consultation on the tax because it is very specific and everyone is different. So that's why we don't want to touch on it in general.
Yeah,
Right.
every country, it's possible that they will have like a partnership with Portugal, like an international agreement for non-double taxation. This is common for several countries here with Portugal. So you have, when they have that, it means that what you pay in your country of origin, you don't need to pay in Portugal unless the taxes in Portugal will be higher. So you might need to pay the difference. That's like the general information, but it's really important to get a consultation with a tax lawyer or an accountant in Portugal that will clarify everything according to your specific situation.
Yeah, and to plan the best way you can to kind of minimize your tax here or in
Yeah.
your country. Also, can a person extend the PR resident permit beyond 24 months, or would it be best to apply for citizenship or permanent at the time after the first 5 years? I think they're saying to extend their temporary residence.
Yeah. Yeah, that's possible because if you don't have one of the requirements after 5 years, like the Portuguese proficiency, you can apply for a temporary one. So you'll receive another residence permit that will be valid for 3 years, actually. Yeah.
Yeah. And then does the passive income have to be transferred to a Portuguese bank account? And is it taxed?
Well, what you need to do, you won't have like an obligation to do that every month. What they need to see, it's at the beginning to grant this visa, like to approve the visa. They just need to see that you have this source of income in your country of origin. Once they approve the visa, they will know that you have how to cover your expenses. So they expect that you might like transfer on a regular basis this amount of money, like every month or every 2 months. It really doesn't matter. But you don't have an official obligation of transferring this money every month to Portugal. It's something that you can it can be kept there, or you will find your workaround to cover your expenses here. So the important part is to prove that at the first stage of the process for you to get the visa in your country of origin. After you move to Portugal, things are more flexible.
It's a tax, as you say, as a tax resident after you moved here, you will need to file that and should be taxed as an income.
Yeah.
Or income. So on medical insurance, what if I have an international medical insurance worldwide? Would that be enough to cover? As Octavio already said, it cannot be just purely medical insurance. It has to be a travel medical insurance. So we will need to look at your specific insurance policy to answer that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. With our mandatory private health insurance, do we visit private clinics or do we simply use private insurance to pay in the public system?
No, you can use private clinics here with this policy. It's
Depending on what your policy covers,
Yeah, they usually accept that, so
right?
you'll have a lot of options.
Right. How long does the temporary visa last? Is it necessary to reapply if staying until permanent visa is possible? I think we've gone over this a few times. It's 2 years plus 3 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm currently a US resident. Do I have to present copy of the latest tax return document?
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is our recommendation, like always to do that because it causes a good impression to the Portuguese agents to see that you comply with the tax rules from your country of origin. That said, I can tell you that, like, for example, if you started receiving your pension, retired from your Social Security, for example, like right now, or just for the past 3 months, meaning that this wouldn't be in the most recent tax return. Even like that, you should still show the most recent tax return. And we can explain, I didn't mention in the presentation, but one of the documents that you will need to prepare for the application is a motivation letter. It's like a personal statement where you can explain with your own words everything about your financial situation and the reasons like why you are moving to Portugal, just to make it easier for the Portuguese agents to analyze your request. So in that letter, we can always explain that, well, last year I was not receiving my pension yet. That's why it's not in my tax return. But now I have these payments from Social Security, so you can prove the Social Security letter showing your pension, the amount that you receive. So we can always arrange and find the best way to organize your documentation to prove them that you have the regular source of income. But yes, every time we recommend our clients to get the most recent tax return indeed.
Yeah. And then, is it permitted to apply for visa in 2 EU countries simultaneously in case one is not approved?
I believe that wouldn't be a good strategy because you cannot have more than one residence permit within the EU. You need to choose where you intend to live and be based. So maybe you could apply for one first. If it's denied, you could apply to a second one at another time, like later, but not simultaneously. I wouldn't recommend that
Mhm.
because they have their internal system as well. So they might trace all of your data and details about yourself while they are analyzing your application. So that can cause some conflict. So it's better to avoid that.
Okay, and then there's one client that say they want to retire in Portugal, but do not have passive income, but they have approximately 400K pounds in the bank account. And can we leave that in our account and transfer the required amount to a Portuguese account every month? Count that as a passive income? I don't think so.
This
They
is,
can invest those as to
yeah,
get an interest if you
correct.
try to have.
Because interests will be eligible as passive income as well. We can see that, well, an amount like that is really, it's a big amount. So you can show that definitely you have how to cover your expenses here, but it's not a regular source of passive income. Even if you transfer to another account on a regular basis, well, they will see that it's not coming from one of the eligible options. So in cases like that, it's better investing this money to at least receive interest.
Interest, dividends, so on,
Yeah,
or
yeah,
rental if you
yeah.
invest in real estate. Do timeout of the countries, but still within the EU countries count as being outside of Portugal? So for example, they're in other
Um,
Schengen countries.
yeah, well, that's a little tricky. I would say that it won't count, but in the near future, they are trying to integrate their systems, and they will start having more information about these movements. And it's a little risk, you know. I wouldn't say that this will count, because the thing is that when you travel between EU countries, there is no border control. So you don't need to show your passport. But they might find some other ways to see that you spent some time in another country. Like if you check in at a hotel, they always need to report that to their immigration agency, your details. So there is like a really remote risk of them detecting those periods. But I would say like, well, if you're going just to have a simple trip to another country, like 1 week, 2 weeks, and come back to Portugal, that should not be considered. It's just that what you need to avoid is like once you get the residence permit in Portugal, it doesn't mean that you can live in another country of the EU. So that's something that they can detect, that you stayed out of Portugal for more time. So for that, you will need to get a proper visa and residence permit for a different country.
Right.
Basically that.
So this client also is asking about D2. Can our new Portuguese company also have clients in other countries? For sure. Like
Yeah, yeah,
have
sure.
clients from other countries as well. We're a
Yeah.
Portuguese company. Can you recommend accountants or provide guidance? Of course, we can do that. Do you know the permitted legal structures of companies and the corporate tax rate? I think you can just the LDA, right? The limited company, depends. There's a few different types of legal structures, but we can also talk to you because it's more specific.
Yeah.
Beyond the basic level language, in order to work, do we need to be proficient in the Portuguese language? I think really depending on what area you're working in.
Yeah, yeah,
Most of the
exactly.
time, yes. But if you work with foreigners or IT, I know people they use English as a main working language.
Yeah.
Can we apply before we start receiving pensions? If we show records from companies, how much the monthly benefit will be? So they haven't reached the age for receiving pensions yet. No.
Yeah, that's not, if that's the only source of passive income, that wouldn't work. They need to see that in the past 3 months you are receiving. Sometimes, if it's really recent, like if it's from the past month that you started receiving that, you can already apply because they will see that it's a stable source of income for the future. But what they are expecting is that you will provide some sort of information showing that you are already receiving this income for the past 3 months. So better waiting until you get the proper pension.
Right. Can a family member be an adopted sibling? Only if they are.
Siblings will be just in case they are your dependents, like if they have a condition, or they depend fully on the main applicant, that could work. Um, adopt kids can join as well. Yeah.
Okay. Does child support count as passive income?
Sorry, could you repeat that?
Child support. Like if they divorce and the other parents is giving them a child support monthly.
I would say it wouldn't work like that because we need to show the proof of the source of income. You will need to show like a court order stating why you are receiving that. It's for your child, so it's not for you. It's related to child expenses. If it's a pension that you receive for yourself, like if you were not working, if you never worked, and you got divorced and your ex-husband or wife needs to pay you a pension for yourself, then that will work, but not for child support.
Okay. And should I decide to start the D7 visa process? Do I have to do it through your company or do I start the process at the local Portuguese consulate? At what point of the process do you get involved? I think at the very beginning, because you need to get the documents ready before you go to your Portuguese consulate.
Yeah.
Like the tax ID, bank accounts, documents review.
Yeah, I didn't indicate there as a mandatory requirement the Portuguese tax number, but this is something that we help. It's one of the first steps that we take because it helps you a lot to prepare the necessary documents for the application. So once you already have the NIF, which is the Portuguese tax identification number, it's possible then for you to get a bank account here. You can also, for the lease agreement, they will ask for that. So this application for the Portuguese tax ID is something that we can do on your behalf remotely. So it's good to have this service from the beginning.
Right. And then the last one is I receive money from my trust every month. I assume that also qualified as passive income.
Yeah, we had some experience with this type of source of income before, and this can be used for the D7 visa. Yeah.
Great. Great. So I think we've answered a lot of questions already. Thank you, everyone. And if you need to have our help on this or a consultation, just book, like I had the QR code, or email us, or just fill in any contact form on our webpage.